How do you know if your child is being bullied in school? In this video, we're going to try to itemize 6 signs that your child is being bullied at school. So you sent your child, your son, your daughter to a secondary school in the country or a high school abroad to study, and they're being bullied, but you don't know. And they come back home and you can't tell if you're being bullied or not. You need to be able to know to address this issue before it degenerates into something really bad. So in this video, we're going to itemize 6 signs that your son or your daughter is being bullied at school. So if you're interested in this content, why don't you think about going down there and smashing the subscribe button, and while you're down there, turn on the notification bells, because we always drop this type of content every Thursdays, okay? And why don't you hold on to that thought, and I'll be back with more.
You know the way I do it when I drop lyrical. Anytime I spit lyrical, philosophical, all the niggas mimical, but this fair still on taking literal. Punchlines collateral, maximum damage.
Hello YouTube, hello Chronics, how are you all doing today? Now, like I said in the introduction, in this video we're going to itemize 6 signs to show you or to make you recognize when your son or your daughter is being bullied at school. First of all, why don't we define the term bullying and try to differentiate it from racism, or try to marry it with racism? Are they different concepts or the same concept? Now, bullying is when a person is being coerced, intimidated, or even an attempt towards harming a person who is perceived to be a little bit weak in the other person's opinion, while racism is discrimination, prejudice, or antagonism towards a person, group of people, or a community by another person, group of people, community, institution by virtue of a group they belong to or a racial set that they are coming from. Now, if you look at the definition of racism and the definition of bullying, you'll find out that it's almost close similarity between the two. They're both targeted at people who are of a small subset in the general population and people who are perceived to be weak. So there's no too great a distinction between racism and bullying. So I just wanted to put that in there so you stay guided. Now let's begin, okay? Because we have 6 points to run down. The first sign that your child is being bullied is when he exhibits a fear of communication or a lack of communication. So your son is on a midterm break or he's on vacation. We're entering the festive period, so Christmas is around the corner, and he's coming back home for the winter vacation, the Christmas holidays, and somehow he's always silent. And this is a child who is always bubbly before. He's always chatty, talky, and somehow he just cannot hold a conversation. He's always silent, always keeping to himself. When you want to talk to him, you could just tell it. You could tell that there's something there, but he just doesn't want to talk. It's almost autistic. You know, this people suffer from autism. He just doesn't want to talk, keeps to himself. He wants to stay in his room to play video games all by himself. When he's watching cartoon or TV, he's just watching it all by himself. Okay, you need to watch out for this sign. It could just be that your child is being bullied at school, and the fear of communicating to you, because maybe it's senior in his secondary school, a senior student in his secondary school has warned him sternly. If you tell anybody what we're doing to you, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to leave you in the bushes all by yourself. We're going to put a scorpion in you. We're going to put a snake in you. We're going to kill you. And you need to think about this clearly, guys. There's a point to this. This child spends more time with these people than with you. Now, if you calculate the amount of times that your child comes back home, it's not going to be more than 6 to 7 times in a year. He spends more time with these people who are abusing him in this way. He spends nothing less than 3 to 4 months every term, and if you multiply that by 3 terms, that makes a session. You know that he spends more time with these people than you. So he's more afraid of them than he is afraid of his parents, okay? So you need to keep a watchful eye and notice when your child starts to exhibit this particular sign. Number 2, shame. Okay, now you need to realize that because when a child is being bullied, there are usually derogatory words that are used in association with this child. It could be that your head is too big. It could be that you're too short, you're too tall. Look at your ears. Those are rabbit ears. Or why do you look like a dog? Or your whole family members have big ears, like a lion or whatever animal that has big ears. Why is your head like that? Why is your butt like that? Why is your belly like that? When your family members are less than human, whatever. It gets very, very bad. So this child feels very helpless because they can't help themselves. They feel very bad at themselves that they can't do anything to make this stop. So there's this sense of shame. And this particular sign is closely associated with crying. I remember when my son started his secondary school education, he was always crying. You ask him the most innocuous questions, and his first response is to bust out in tears. You're like, what is the problem? Why are you crying? I'm asking you how your teachers are. I'm asking you the kind of food you eat, your friends, your seniors, and you're crying. That's because they feel this level of shame, a huge amount of shame that this stuff has happened to them over time, and they've been very helpless to do anything about it. Sometimes they even get threatened not to go to your teachers or your boarding house masters to report. So you need to watch out when your child is acting like he or she is shamed, always crying when you ask the most innocuous questions. It just might be that he's suffering from deep-rooted shame that has been brought about by months and months, in some cases even years of being bullied by the senior students in his school. Number 3, the case of the jitters. The case of the jitters, or being very nervous all the time. You just open the door, you bump in on your child and he's jumping. He's always scared, always nervous. It's night and you're telling your son or your daughter, oh, good night, Junior. Good night, Jessica. I'll see you tomorrow morning. And he or she starts to scream, no, mommy, turn the light back on. Turn the light back on. I want to sleep with the light. He's always nervous, always scared of something, always. Now, you need to understand that when a child is being bullied by a senior student, whenever the child sees any senior student at all, he or she gets nervous because they start to anticipate this person is going to coerce them to do something. This person is going to antagonize or intimidate them, or this person is going to cause them some level or degree of bodily harm. So this automatically makes them very nervous. And even when they're home, their mind, mentally, their mind has not made that transition from school environment to home environment. So that flight mechanism is still in their brain, and they still think they're back at school. So you need to take note of when your child is always jittery or always nervous. At the slightest of intrusion, he's jumpy and scared. Okay, this is very important, guys. Number 4, the fear of a crowded space, the fear of crowds. Now, you could identify this sign when maybe your colleague at work tells you, oh, tomorrow is Jessica's birthday and I want you to bring Junior to the house because we're having this estate party to mark her birthday. And you tell Junior, oh, Junior, remember your friend Jessica? Tomorrow is her birthday, we're going to party. And Junior say, no, mommy, I don't want to go, I'm fine. Because When your child is being bullied at school, you rarely see just one senior bullying one child. Usually it's a whole dormitory of seniors bullying one child. Usually it's a whole class of seniors bullying one child. Usually it's a whole clique of maybe 4 to 5, 6 seniors bullying one child. So this child has started to associate a group of seniors as a band of bullies. Because of the nature or the things that go into bullying, the child gets body shamed before he gets harmed, or he gets body shamed before he gets coerced to do something, or he gets body shamed before he gets intimidated on a particular topic. You're good for nothing, your whole family are dumb and this. The child has this deep-rooted sense of low self-esteem. He's not good enough. And when this child is going to associate with other children, he starts to rate himself and pitch himself against each and every one of the children in this crowd, and he just doesn't want to do that. So instead of subjecting himself to this psychological turmoil or trauma, he decides to stay back home to watch TV by himself, like I've said in the first point, or to play games by himself. He doesn't want to associate with a crowd of his peers. Even though they belong to the same age grade, he just doesn't want it. So when your child starts to exhibit the fear of going out to mix up with his peers in a crowd, you need to be mindful that it just might be because he is getting bullied at school. Now, number 5, very, very low self-esteem. Now, when a child is being bullied, you need to understand that the seniors, first of all, try to break this child down psychologically. They try to make this child have a very low self-worth. They try to make him think that he's literally nothing. He is less than the scum of the earth. He's brainless, he's dumb, he's ugly, he's too tall, he's too short, he can't do anything for himself. So this child grows up thinking that, oh, I'm not good enough, I can't read, I'm dumb, I'm not this, I'm not that. And even when this child grows up to be an adult, this low self-esteem is deeply seated. He's psychologically scarred, and it shows itself in the kind of girls this person want to go out with, the kind of boys he want to associate with, the kind of places he want to go to, the kind of ambition this person starts to show, or the lack of ambition thereof. Okay, so this is very important to pinpoint when your child starts to show a case of low self-esteem. Oh, Junior, you're very intelligent. Wow. And he says stuff like, no, I'm not. The other people in my class are better than me. Oh, Junior, my God, you're very handsome. What are you saying? I'm very ugly. Junior, look at your height. You work very well. Mommy, I'm too tall. I don't want to be too tall. Junior, wow, this holiday was good on you. You put on some weight. You look very good. Now I'm too fat. I don't want to be too fat. So he takes a very positive compliment and finds a way to make it very negative. You need to be mindful that this could be because some people, you're talking into this ear, and some other people, some other seniors in his school are talking to him through this other ear, and we know that negativity is easier to spread and embrace than positivity. Negativity is stronger than positivity. In a battle of negatives and positives, negatives always win. So you need to be mindful when your child is exhibiting a case of a low self-esteem. Number six, a loss of appetite. A loss of appetite. Now, you won't notice this particular sign when you are at home with your child. You would not notice this sign because obviously your child just got back home and his favorite meal is going to be prepared by his mom or his dad, whoever does the cooking in your house. So you're not going to notice him exhibiting a loss of appetite until it's time to go back to school. When you are in the car and it's 5 to 10 kilometers till you get to your son or your daughter's school, and he was eating before, or he was all chatty before, or he was drinking from the soda can before, and for no reason he drops the soda can, he stops talking and he gets silent, he stops eating even though he literally just started eating that meal in the car. That's because his mind is trying to get ready to what is going to come next after you drop him at school and go home with your husband or your wife or his brother and his sisters. His mind is trying to adapt to what is going to come next the coercion, the intimidation, the bodily harm that's going to be done to him by his seniors. So when your child starts to show this sign in the car before you get to his school, it just might be because he's being bullied at school. This used to happen to me when my mom was driving me to school back then. I went to secondary school in the early to mid 90s. And back then, there was no internet, no Twitter, no Facebook, there was no internet. In fact, we used to do computer studies back then, and I think in my history of attending that school for 6 years, I only saw a huge computer twice. So this was the era that I went to school. So when we were leaving Gwagwalada, which is a suburb of the federal capital city of Abuja, when we were leaving Gwagwalada and went Cheddar, suddenly I stopped talking, I stopped eating. My mom was always dumbfounded when this happened, up until I finished my junior secondary and got into the senior secondary. My mom was always dumbfounded why this always happened, but she never asked questions, okay? She never asked questions. Thankfully, I turned out okay. But when your child shows this sign, it could just be because he's being bullied at school. Now, guys, these are the 6 signs that tells you or should tell you that your child is being bullied at school. If your child is exhibiting any of this sign, take it very, very seriously. Do not even think about going to the school authority to report. Withdraw your child from this school, because the era in which we went to school is different from this present era. We live in the information age. These children are all internet happy. This is the era of the keyboard warriors, where people jump on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and all other social media platforms. In our time, when something bad happened to you, you just took the beat down like a man. But this is different from this particular generation, okay? In my city alone, there've been a lot of cases of people that were bullied, and even when this was happening to them, they eventually got killed, or when they had to be pulled out from school by their parents, they ended up dying. There was a case of a boy in a college in Lagos who got bullied, battered, he got bodily harmed, and eventually he died. So it's better to be cautious than sorry, okay? So I want you to take this very, very seriously. I want you to go through these 6 points again and again and find out the ones that your child or children are exhibiting and try to act on them. So I want to believe this video was helpful to you or someone out there. If it was, why don't you think about going down and smashing the subscribe button? And while you're down there, why don't you turn on the notification bell, which is just beside the subscribe button, so when we drop this content, which we normally do every Thursdays, we usually drop this kind of civil topic. You can catch our videos when they drop. And if this video was helpful to you, why don't you think about giving it a thumbs up, because that really helps a lot, okay? If you give our videos a thumbs up, you tell the YouTube algorithm that the content we shared in this video was helpful to you, and they're gonna take it and show it to more people around the world just like you, okay? And if you have friends, family members who have children in secondary school, or you have a brother or sister who plans to put his son or daughter in a boarding school, why don't you think about sharing this video with them so you can spread the word and get more informed and make guided decisions when we are at that point in our lives, okay? And if you want to get up close and personal with Fuse, why don't you think about following me on Instagram? My Instagram handle is up there. It's simple, @Fuse Chronicles. So I always say this, guys, it's your job to make yourself happy. It's not the position of your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, or your girlfriend to make you happy. It's your job to make yourself happy. So why don't you choose to be happy today and exit whatever toxic situation you might be involved in, so that you can always make for a positive environment, okay? Until the next one, it's still your boy Fuse. Have a good day, have a good week ahead. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye for now.